Sungyun had experienced some incredible events recently, so when he arrived at the Hunter Association, everything felt surreal. His instructor, Hang Manho, greeted him, but their reunion wasn't warm. Though it hadn't been long since they last met, Manho had little faith in Sungyun's abilities. Sungyun, however, was determined to prove himself. Kim Inu, the test examiner, approached and explained that Sungyun was exempt from the theory test and interview because the director, Wang, had decided to observe the practical test himself. Despite the exemption, Hang Manho secretly requested that Inu make the test as difficult as possible to ensure Sungyun failed. Manho's disdain for Sungyun was obvious, but Sungyun was unfazed. Inu led Sungyun to the test area and explained the rules. Sungyun was allowed to choose the difficulty level, ranging from 1 to 10. Previously, Sungyun had always chosen level 1 because he struggled to defeat even weak monsters like goblins. Everyone, including Manho, expected him to pick the easiest level again. But to everyone's shock, Sungyun boldly selected level 10, the hardest level possible. As the test began, the massive fire phoenix appeared, its wings ablaze and filling the entire room with intense heat. The air shimmered with its fiery aura, and the beast let out a deafening roar. This cry wasn't just a sound, it was the phoenix's predator's roar, a skill that immediately weakened Sungyun by reducing his movement speed by 25%. He felt the weight in his legs as if chains were holding him back, but his determination remained unshaken. Sungyun held his low-grade sword tightly, knowing it wasn't ideal for the fight. As he stepped forward, the phoenix flapped its enormous wings, creating gusts of wind so strong they almost knocked him over. Sungyun closed the distance carefully and swung his sword with precision, aiming for the creature's fiery body. But with a loud crack, the sword snapped in his hands, leaving him holding only the hilt. Hang Manho, watching from the sidelines, smirked in satisfaction. "This brat doesn't stand a chance," he muttered. Sungyun, however, didn't panic. Instead, he quickly surveyed his surroundings, his mind racing for a solution. "The broken sword doesn't matter," he thought. "I've faced tougher situations before." Activating his skill, instant acceleration, Sungyun's body surged with speed, and he leaped high into the air, dodging a fireball the phoenix had launched at him. He aimed for the phoenix's eye with the broken blade, thinking it could still do some damage. But the blade was too short, barely grazing the phoenix before Sungyun fell back to the ground. He landed hard but immediately got back up, his eyes scanning the room for anything usable. That's when he spotted a concrete plate lying on the ground, broken but sturdy. Without hesitation, he grabbed it, his fingers tightening around its edges. The phoenix prepared another attack, its beak glowing as it summoned a massive fireball. Sungyun knew he had only moments to act. With every ounce of strength he had, he hurled the concrete plate at the phoenix. The plate flew through the air like a missile, spinning with incredible force. It struck the phoenix directly between the eyes, splitting its head with a sickening crack, and accidentally landed on Manho's back. Flames erupted from the creature, and its piercing screech echoed through the room as it collapsed into a heap of ash. The system chimed in. "The test is over. Congratulations." Sungyun stood still, breathing heavily, his heart pounding in his chest. He looked at the pile of ash that had once been the mighty phoenix and couldn't help but smile. "I really did it," he whispered, amazed at his own resourcefulness. Hang Manho, on the other hand, was frozen in disbelief. His smug grin had vanished, replaced by a look of pure shock. Sungyun said, "I didn't expect the plate would end up there," with a slight smile tugging at his lips. Manho stammered, How is this possible?" Kim Inu, the examiner, was equally speechless. "He passed in just seconds," he muttered. A woman from the Hunter Association handed Sungyun his Hunter ID card, officially recognizing him as a hunter. She explained that he could now enter dungeons and sell items as part of his new role. Sungyun thanked her, feeling a sense of accomplishment he hadn't experienced before. Sungyun returned to the observation room where Manho was waiting. Manho, still angry about Sungyun's unexpected success, demanded an explanation from Kim Inu. Inu calmly explained that they had done everything possible to make the test difficult, but Sungyun had surpassed all expectations. Frustrated, Manho shouted, "You should have found a way to make him fail." Sungyun couldn't resist teasing his instructor. Holding up his Hunter ID, he said with a smirk, "I passed. Looks like I'm not the failure you always said I was." He reminded Monho of the times he had been called useless, even suggesting that Monho was the real failure for giving up on his own dreams. This provocation pushed Monho over the edge. Monho's face turned bright red with anger. You, you brat, he growled, lunging towards Sungyun, fists flying. Sungyun easily dodged the punch, moving with the speed he had gained during the test. This is self-defense, Sungyun said with a smirk, landing a punch of his own right in Monho's stomach. Monho gasped, his anger momentarily replaced by shock. This is payback, Sungyun said calmly, watching as his instructor doubled over in shock. After the scuffle, Kim Inu offered Sungyun a high-paying job as an exclusive hunter for the association. He promised a starting salary of 1 billion won, with room for negotiation. Although the offer was tempting, Sungyun declined, stating that he couldn't work with people he didn't trust. He tossed Inu's business card aside and left the building. 2 days later, Sungyun was summoned back to the Tower of Trials. Excited to face new challenges, he entered the waiting room and prepared for the fifth-floor trial. The system informed him that he had received a new skill, Eyes of Truth, which allowed him to see the details of objects and determine if someone was lying. He also used his points to purchase a thunder sword and a shield, equipping himself for the upcoming challenge. The trial's objective was to defeat the wolf boss in a mountain gorge. As he ventured into the gorge, he encountered a pack of wolves. The smaller ones posed little challenge, and Sungyun quickly dispatched them with his new weapon. However, larger white wolves soon appeared, their red auras glowing ominously. Sungyun felt a thrill of excitement as they surrounded him. This is what the trials should feel like, he thought, eagerly engaging in battle. Sungyun's thunder sword occasionally paralyzed the wolves, giving him an advantage. As he fought, he absorbed the spirits of the defeated wolves, steadily increasing his skills and attributes. He noticed traces of a previous battle, clean cuts and footprints, suggesting someone else had been there. As Sungyun ventured deeper into the wolf gorge, he noticed something was off. The corpses of wolves littered the area, but their injuries weren't caused by him. He found clean, precise sword cuts on the walls and corpses, suggesting a powerful warrior had been there. His suspicions were confirmed when the system announced, "The wolf boss has been killed. The trial objective has been modified. Defeat the interdimensional intruder." Sungyun's heart pounded as he saw a large figure emerge from the shadows of the cave. Clad in dark, menacing armor, the knight carried a massive sword that radiated an intimidating aura. The knight's red eyes glowed behind his helmet, and he sneered at Sungyun. "So, you're the barbarian who owns this trial," the knight said, his voice dripping with disdain. "I didn't expect you to still be alive. No matter, I'll end this quickly." Without hesitation, the knight charged at Sungyun with incredible speed, swinging his massive, aura-covered sword. Sungyun barely dodged the attack, feeling the shockwave crack the ground beneath him. He retaliated with a swift strike using his thunder sword, but the blade bounced harmlessly off the knight's impenetrable armor. The knight chuckled. "That's the best you can do?" he sneered before smashing Sungyun's shield with a single blow, sending Sungyun crashing into the gorge wall. Despite the pain, Sungyun's regenerative abilities healed his broken arm quickly. Using his Eyes of Truth skill, he spotted weak points in the knight's armor, such as the joints and the neck. Activating instant acceleration and the speed-boosting effect of his assassin's cloak, he began darting around the knight, avoiding his wild swings. Sungyun launched precise strikes at the armor's weak points, but the knight's aura minimized the damage. Frustrated, Sungyun kept up the pressure, aiming to trigger the Thunder Sword's paralysis effect. After several strikes, the sword's ability activated, sending electricity coursing through the knight's body. The knight staggered, growling in anger. "What is this?" Seeing his chance, Sungyun dashed forward and aimed for the gap under the knight's arm. The blade pierced through, drawing a pained roar from the knight. The knight, desperate, shouted, "Wait! I can tell you about the tower!" But Sungyun didn't hesitate. "You shouldn't have interfered in my trial," he said coldly before driving his sword through the gap in the knight's helmet. The knight's body fell with a loud crash, and the red glow in his eyes faded. Before the knight's body disappeared, Sungyun absorbed his spirit, gaining an A-rank skill, 3 lacerations, and additional points. The system declared his victory, and Sungyun was transported back to the waiting room, fully healed. He reflected on how much stronger he had become, ready for whatever the tower would throw at him next.